What's good? It's Boy Dude Reviews, and today we're going to review Atlantis: The Lost Empire, a 2001 American animated science fiction action adventure film created by Walt Disney Feature Animation, the first science fiction film in Disney's animated feature canon and the 41st animated film in the Disney canon overall. Written by Tab Murphy, directed by Gary Tassoldale and Kirk Wise, and produced by Don Hahn, the film features an ensemble cast with the voices of Michael J. Fox, Cree Summer, James Garner, Leonard Nimoy, Don Novello, Phil Morris, Claudia Christian, Jack Quinn Oberez, Jim Varney in sadly his final role, Florence Stanley, John Mahoney, David Odin Stiers, and Corey Burton. And what's this film all about? Set in 1914, the film tells the story of a young man who gains possession of a sacred book, which he believes will guide him and a crew of mercenaries to the lost city of Atlantis. The development of the film began after production had finished on The Hunchback of Notre Dame back in '96. Instead of another musical, the production team decided to do an action-adventure film inspired by the works of Jules Verne. Atlantis was notable for adopting the distinctive visual look of comic book creator Mike Mignola. At the time of its release, the film made greater use of CGI than any of Disney's previous traditionally animated feature films. It remains one of the few to have been shot in anamorphic format. Linguist Mark O'Connor created a language specifically for Atlantis, with James Newton providing the film's score. The film was released at the time when audiences' interest in animated films was shifting away from hand-drawn animations towards the full CGI film. And yeah, the film premiered at the El Captain Theatre in Hollywood, California on June 3, 2001, and went on to generate general release on June 15th. Released by Walt Disney Pictures, Atlantis performed modestly at the box office. Budgeted around 90 to 120 million, the film only grossed 186 million worldwide, 84 million of which was earned in North America, and you can consider that as a box office failure in a way. And it was due to this lackluster box office performance that Disney quietly cancelled both a spin-off television series and an underwater attraction at its Disneyland theme park. Some critics praised it as a unique departure from typical Disney feature animations, while others disliked it due to the unclear target audience and absence of songs. Atlantis was nominated for a number of awards, including 7 Annie Awards, and won Best Sound Editing at the 2002 Golden Reel Award. And this film has gone on to become a cult favorite due to the production designer artist's unique artistic influence, and a direct sequel was obviously made and all that jazz, to be honest with you. And what do I like about this film? Well, let's talk about the good. And the good is definitely that very distinct artistic look they have. And many critics, including Roger Ebert, made comments saying that the animation has this classic energy of the comic book style to it. And when I looked at this film again, I have to admit it really does. When you look at the concept art, when you look at the characters and the way they're designed, they kind of have this it's almost like you're watching pages from a comic book come to life on the big screen. It's very interesting, when you see the very angular, sharp edges on certain characters, particularly our main lead. All the character designs in this film look so unique, and they all have an interesting look and flair to them, And I flipping love the designs, very nice. But as well as the designs made, the visual look, I'm talking about some of the cinematography and the colors used. They explode in this film. They look so beautiful when you just look at some of these shots. I'm just looking at this film and oh my goodness, this film is gorgeous. I love some of the scenes when they actually, spoiler alert, go to Atlantis and they do see the world. It looks beautiful, and I think what really elevates this film's look is the widescreen ratio. I think this was the first time Disney used the wide aspect ratio for a movie since Sleeping Beauty, and that wide ratio really does elevate the look of the film. You do get to see a lot more going on in a way, and it looks really nice, you know. Like, I flipping do love it, you know. But mate, the colors pop or what, you know, in this film. I flipping love it, you know. The colors really do pop in this film. It's just, oh, when you go to Atlantis, it's just beautiful, you know. I love the design of the princess of Atlantis, voiced by Cree Summer. I really like her design most of all. Out of all the character designs of this film, like, I think hers is my favorite design, you know. Like, I flipping love, like, just her facial expression, her design. Like, I like the white hair blending with the blue stripes on her face, and I feel like that is a very good design out of all of them, you know. And the thing I like about the film is the animation. It looks very human-like, you know, when they're walking and talking. It kind of has this like human feel to it. Like, I don't want to say it was rotoscoped or anything, but the artists really knew how to capture human expressions in this film. Like, it looks really nice and just flipping amazing, you know. Like, oh, great, you know. The visual look really does, you know, it really improves like towards the end, you know. Flipping amazing, you know. I really like the opening sequence, like what we see Atlantis fall, you know. Like, oh gosh, Atlantis itself is just this, the designs are just so lovely and just vibrant and just, oh, I could watch an entire film just set in this like city, you know. It looks so great and nice, you know. I also really like the voice acting in this film, you know. Michael J. Fox really does a really great job as Milo James Thratch, this guy who, you know, he's kind of like this guy obsessed with research on Atlantis, and I flipping loved his voice acting, you know. He has this sincerity about him. You really do root for him, and the voice acting is really great as well. All the other voice actors and actresses do a flipping damn good job, you know. And I do like the little posse, you know, the Milo's little gang in a way. When he goes to Atlantis, he's with this ragtag team of like different like people, whether they are in, you know, like mechanics of like specialists, whether that includes a geologist, a medical officer, or a mechanic. Like, they all have their interesting, like, you know, there's a scene where they're just like sitting down, like kind of talking about, you know, where they've come from. And yeah, I do like that scene, you know. And I like how, like, well, you know, like at first, like no one really kind of like acknowledges Milo. Everyone thinks like he's this kind of loser, but then they, you know, they invite him and they start to get to know him, and you know, yeah, you know, he's a cool dude, you know, once you get to know this dude. And yeah, I love the soundtrack. Oh, that soundtrack by James Newton Howard, you know. Oh, it's so bombastic and grand and loud, and you gotta love it. I flipping do like that soundtrack. It's great. Flipping great, you know. In terms of my negatives, then I wouldn't really say they are major negatives, but again, like, people have made criticism towards this film saying that they don't know who it's targeted towards, you know. Because when I watched this film, I felt like it was pretty adult, you know, with the certain like themes and like the situations. Even the look had a very adult look. It's not your typical Walt Disney animation. You look at it and you're like, Disney made that? Really? Like, the designs and like they don't look Disney. Like, the only Disney character I feel like who looks somewhat Disney is the Princess of Atlantis. Like, everyone else kind of looks a bit you know. I do like the designs of it and I feel like it works for the film, but I honestly, it's the least Disney looking movie out of all of them, you know. But I don't think that's a bad thing, you know. I just feel, for me, on a personal note, that sometimes this realistic character designs can, you know, like, there are moments when the animation isn't always smooth, you know. It can get a bit like meh, but most of the time it's really good, you know. But I'd say in terms of my negatives, I wouldn't say the plot is anything like complicating or anything like that. Just that I feel like it's very adult and growing up, to the point where if I was a 7-year-old kid and I was watching this and they're talking about all this science mumbo jumbo, I'd be like, when do the songs come? It's like, it's straightforward for me because I'm a grown up and I understand what's happening. But if I was a kid, I would not really get it, you know. Like, I don't feel like this film is targeted towards kids. I feel like it's more teenagers and like adults, I'd say. It's very grown up. It's more for older audiences. It's a bit like The Hunchback, you know, in terms of like the dark themes and all that. But this film is just, I feel like in the dialogue, you know, like the dialogue and like the whole like the things that make up this film, it feels more grown up for me, you know. And I feel like I don't think kids would, you know, be appealed to this movie, to be honest with you. It just doesn't have that, it's not simplified enough for kids, you know, and that could be a bad thing, you know. But personally, I kind of like this film. I did say in my previous videos that I feel like Disney's writing and animation kind of went downhill after Dinosaur, but I'm gonna probably go back on that statement and be like, it was probably just a silly thing. Maybe it was just, for me, it was like how I saw, you know, like the box office performances, you know. And I feel like this film came out at a kind of a bad time in like cinema, because it came out in 2001. What came out in 2001? Freaking Monsters Incorporated, my dude. Like at the time, we had Toy Story 1, we had Bugs Life, Toy Story 2, we had freaking Monsters Inc. And I think Shrek was just around the corner as well, you know. And I think it was at this time when people were more drawn to CGI animation, you know. And I felt like the general audience were just starting to shift away from this hand-drawn animation to the full CGI look of films. And yeah, I think it's from this moment on where just the box office just kind of goes downhill a little bit, and it's a bit sad. But I feel like it's one of those films that the more times I watch it, I feel like I probably even like it even more the next time I watch it. And yeah, I can't wait to see this film again. I definitely recommend this film to a lot of people, and for that, I'll give this film I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I'm going to give it a B+. Go check it out right now. It's really good. Disney Plus is coming out tomorrow in you guys in the US and Canada and Australia. So go check this film out once Disney Plus comes out. But not for those in the UK. But if you're in the UK, watch on Disney Live. But thanks for watching this review. Please like and share this video and comment down below and tell me what's your favourite Disney flick. With that said, thank you for watching. As always, a Boyd Review signing out.